I am grateful to be here today, understanding that this is one of the most sensitive issues for many, many people. Deeply held views, certainly on both sides. And anyone who is against abortion has every right in the world to feel that way, but not free to then require everyone to follow the standard of no abortions. And I want to talk about how widely that position is disagreed with in this country. And I think Texas is the perfect example of why we are, and women are desperate right now for the Women's Health Protection Act, a bill that would codify into law the fact that women everywhere have the right to have an abortion. Right now in Texas, as Congresswoman Torres has said, there is now vigilante rule right now. The Texas has an abortion law that says that after 6 weeks, a woman may not have a legal abortion. And as she pointed out, most women are really not aware after 6 weeks, at that early date, that they are even pregnant. And now it says that, and who really is affected? We see that particularly low-income women, women of color, people who are struggling to make ends meet. Some others may be able to escape Texas, but many are really unable to even have an option. And so what we see right now is that in Texas, the law now says that individuals are essentially deputized by the state of Texas to report. Actually, they are paid if they make a report of someone who plans to have an abortion. And who then would be penalized? It can be a friend, it can be a spouse or partner, it can be a driver that would take someone to have an abortion. I'm happy to say that Lyft and Uber now have said that they will not abide by that law, and actually will protect the clients legally from disobeying this incredibly harsh legislation. But there will be a $10,000 bounty. Imagine, in the United States of America, paying a bounty for someone who will turn in someone who would have an abortion and then penalize, under law, people who aided and abetted. Fortunately, not the woman herself, but anyone who has anything to do with it. This is just unheard of, this kind of surveillance, this kind of reporting, and I understand that they've actually set up some hotlines where people can call in and report this information. And so it's not the only bill, though. There's legislation in many states that are rushing to do exactly the same thing. In Mississippi, there's legislation that's going to be heard by the Supreme Court this fall that after 15 weeks would end abortion rights. But I want to tell you, this is a pro-choice nation. The majority of Americans are saying that women and whoever they choose to talk to, their spouse, their partner, their doctor, their God, can help them make a decision about ending a pregnancy. It is their decision. This is about freedom. Freedom, an autonomy of self, of bodily autonomy to make that decision. I want to tell you a little bit about polling, just to give us a sense of where the American people are at right now. 61% of voters across the United States support passing the Women's Health Protection Act to protect the constitutional right that, again, as Ms. Torres pointed out, for over 50 years has been the law of the land. 85% of voters nationally believe that regardless of where you live, whether or not you have any resources, enough resources, or how rich you are, that you should be able to decide on whether or not you are going to have to carry a baby to full term. 68% of voters nationally also believe that the constitutional right of abortion should be protected. This is the majority view across most of the electorate. And I want to say women right now are feeling much more empowered and making decisions for themselves, and believe that this is such a fundamental decision and have many reasons to choose an abortion. Yes, health care may be one of them, that this is not something that they can deal with mental health or physical health, but also that they are not wanting to bring another child into poverty, that this is not the right time to make a family, that there is no relationship or a bad relationship with the father, who we never talk about, the parent of that child. This is a decision that women can and should be allowed to make by themselves. Anyone who disagrees with that has, as said before, every right to do so, but not a right to impose that on us. 56% of voters nationally believe that state passing laws to restrict access to abortion is a bad thing for our individual rights. So they also weigh in on the side against states passing these laws. I think it's also important to note that abortion restrictions do not stop abortions from happening. Roe v. Wade was not the beginning of women having abortions. It was the end of women dying from abortions. So despite what abortion, people who believe in restricting the right to abortion, abortion restrictions are not about safety. They are not about health. This is about, yes, a deeply held personal belief, but it has nothing to do with protecting the health and the safety and the autonomy and the decision-making of women. We know that data point out that a 218-year independent study and nonpartisan scientific review of all the research on abortion in the last 40 years by the National Academy of Science, Engineers, and Medicine conclude that abortion in all forms is safe and it is effective. And in fact, there are some data that shows that a colonoscopy can be more dangerous than an abortion if it is done early, if it is done professionally, if it is done in safety. The review found that abortion, here it is safer than wisdom teeth extraction, getting your tonsils removed. Abortion is health care. the Women's Health Protection Act brings us closer to a world where all people can make important decisions about their health, about their lives, about their families, and about their futures. I also do just want to point out that right now this legislation has 219 co-sponsors in the House of Representatives. And as much as I respect the views of everyone on this issue, no one should impose their view and prevent women from making the decisions that they need for their lives. And with that, I yield back.